Welcome, everybody, back to the podcast, the Healthy Habit Podcast. We're at episode 234 here, 234, and we're joined with Rich Funk here today. And I'm your host here of the Healthy Habit Podcast. My name is Dr. Dayan at Healthy Habit Medical Center, located right inside Healthy Habit Health Foods. And we're going to be talking about a product company called Boom Chaga here today. First time ever on the radio or on the podcast here. So I'm excited here to talk to Mr. Rich Funk, CEO of the company here behind the scenes. So Rich, give us a little intro on yourself and welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, and Dr. Dahan, thanks for having me. So, as you said, my name is Rich Funk. I founded with my business partner Boom Chaga 4 years ago, and then we put product on the market in November of 23. So just about a year and a half ago. Before that, I was 30 years in large consumer products goods companies, global responsibilities, lived around the world a few times. So very fortunate to do all things from a start off young engineer through managing brands and P&Ls. And then also at the end, I was the chief operating officer at a global foods company before coming full time and leading Boom Chaga.
Fantastic. And that all led us to this moment right here. And how did Boom Chaga come about? Why did you choose to focus on not only mushrooms, but specifically chaga mushroom? There's turkey tail, there's, maitake, reishi, all these different mushrooms and different blends out there and different companies offering mushroom products. So what makes Boom Chaga unique? How did it come about?
Yeah, good question. So I moved down to Florida in the midst of COVID, as many people did. I think Florida started sinking a little bit with so many people migrating to a state that had more open policy, in large part due to the weather, right, to be outside. But anyway, I was living in Chicago at the time and moved down to Florida amidst COVID for a number of reasons. And 2 months after moving here, I was at a farmer's market and was introduced to chaga. Frankly, I thought the guy was selling snake oil. I'd never heard of chaga before
Yeah.
and said, how can this one mushroom do so many great things? Well, it was over exaggerated. It was saying it could do all these things. And as I started researching it with my technical background, I said, my goodness, there's something really interesting here. And with chaga being called king of the medicinal mushrooms by David Wolf and Paul Stamets, I said, look, there's some credibility in the medicinal mushroom space that this is the best mushroom out there versus the maitake, shiitake, lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, cordyceps, etc. So we said, let's focus on this. And this is something where if you want to get the medicinal value, you cannot grow it in a lab. So never mind all the debate of mycelium versus fruiting body. This has to be the full on fruiting body off of a living birch tree to get the massive amounts of the medicinal value. So that's what we set off to do, was to take this king of the medicinal mushrooms called chaga, source it the right way, process it the right way to make sure it's truly better for you and differentiated versus anything on the market. So we went on a journey of about 2.5 years research and development with a third party lab led by MIT PhD analytic chemists, not food scientists, not people in the health wellness space, but truly looking at it from a true natural chemistry. What's in this mushroom that makes it different? What's great about it? And also what's bad? The
Right.
number one reason that doctors don't recommend chaga supplements is because the more concentrated you make it, you're also bringing out this thing called oxalic acid. And oxalic acid can be 5% or more by weight in chaga. And oxalates are really good for removing rust from the side of buildings or in very small amounts in your body. But when you have a lot of them, you start to get a propensity for forming kidney stones because oxalic acid combines with calcium, makes a precipitate in your kidneys called a kidney stone. So it was my personal obligation to make sure that if we're going to concentrate the 2, 3 good elements in chaga, we have to figure out a process to eliminate the third. And that's why it took us, I'm sorry, the oxalic
Right.
acid. So that's why it took us 2.5 years before we were ready to get this to market. And that's why we filed patents on this because we knew we had something special. And we were the only product on the market that is all liquid from a water extraction, not an alcohol tincture, not glycerin, anything else, that guarantees the amount of betulinic acid, liquid beta-glucans, and zero oxalic acid in our product. We're the only one out there. And that's why we took the time, and that's why we're very proud to have Boom Chaga and start to bring it to people. And frankly, see change lives within 85% of people within a week or less, they see and feel a difference.
Super interesting background there. Boomchaga.com. That's Boom like Michael. Chaga, Chaga, as in chaga mushroom. The king of medicinal mushrooms, like you just said, from quote Paul Stamets and David Avocado Wolf. Is that the other guy, David Wolf?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got it.
amazing. So, if you go to their website, you can see a quick overview of everything here that Rich just introduced us to. You can see all the different certifications here and restrictions, basically, like no sugar. The oxalates are all being controlled for. Made in America. Tell us a little bit about that. What does the facility look like there? I just picture just this lab with a bunch of mushrooms everywhere and glass enclosures. And what does that look like exactly?
Yeah.
Is it in
So
Florida there?
100, yeah, 100% of our chaga is sourced from New York, Maine, and Alaska. So three states.
Hmm.
We then dry inspect it to make sure it's below it's 15% or less water. That way, when we process it, there's no chance for mold. We also make sure our harvesters harvest it only in the winter months because that's when chaga is in its own hibernative state, just like the
Oh,
birch tree. So
yeah.
there's not this exchange of medicine going back and forth with the betulin and the chaga kind of protecting the birch still. They're separate, if you will. They're in their dormant state. So that's when we make sure we harvest it. We make sure we leave an inch or two on the conch to where it grows back faster. Think of the mycelia or the roots of the mushroom being in the tree. So if you cut into the tree, you're actually harming the chaga likely will not grow back and you're harming the tree. So we make sure we leave some on there. So we call it a sustainable way to harvest
Hmm.
winter months only and leaving some on there to where the chaga mushroom can grow back much faster.
Right.
We then take it to an organic food process mill in Minnesota, where we store it in the right dry climate. And then when it's time to process it, we don't process it until we're ready to extract it.
Uh-huh.
We have experimented to get it to the right particle size. So whenever you use a milling process, you have kind of a bell curve. You'll have some of the tail of what's too big or too small. So you're trying to isolate that center point. So
Right.
we worked through that for some time, and we have once we have that, we send it to our extractor down in Coppell, Texas. It took us 27 contract manufacturers of scouring them and making sure we could find the right one, and somebody that can do it in the right kettle at the very high temperature for the right amount of time with agitation under pressure to make sure we extract all these bits out. And then
Yeah.
we go through a four-step filtration process to make sure all the oxalates are removed as well once we precipitate those out. So it's a 24-hour process of extraction and then a 2-hour process to precipitate the oxalic acid and then a four-step filtration process to remove everything.
Wow. Fantastic breakdown. Thank you for that. People might want to watch this a couple times just to get all the info behind it. See what I mean. Our customers care about this stuff. That's for sure. They really want to make sure that what they're getting says what they're supposed to get is what they actually get. And there's no oxalates and all these other excipients, additives, fillers. Tell us about beta-glucans. You can see just from their website here, comparing across different brands, the beta-glucan content per 100 grams of actual chaga that's purported to be in the product. But tell us about this at 8.8 grams per 100 grams chaga. Tell us about the beta-glucans. Why is this so important?
Yeah, so beta glucans are actually approved by the FDA if they come from other sources like oats and so on to reduce LDL.
Yeah,
We have, I think, now over 100 testimonials of people's blood work where triglycerides are down, LDLs are down, glucose levels are down. So we have folks whose A1Cs drop. They have taken the jab with the Ozempics and other things to try to help control their diabetes, to try to lose weight, all these
right.
other things, and they've plateaued and they've not been as healthy. They've lost muscle mass, they're lethargic, etc. They start drinking this. I tell them to take it for a few months daily, so one a day, and they within weeks they have more energy. And then when they get their blood work drawn, every one of them, their A1Cs have dropped. One guy, he went from taking 90 units of insulin a day down to 20 now.
Wow.
Um, and it's just it's this cleansing of the blood work. And it's the building back of some of the I think it's actually working on some of the organs in your body, and we'll get to that with the betulinic acid in a minute. But the beta glucans, the first thing is kind of a blood cleansing, heart health bit. The second one is it's a complex soluble fiber. It also
Right.
feeds your microbiome. So we have testimonials of acid reflux, diverticulitis pains, subsiding, IBS issues going away. So, folks with really tough gut issues, this is a natural way with no negative side effects, as long as you're not allergic to mushrooms, no negative side effects for gut improvement as well. So, the beta glucans are really known as heart health, gut health, and a lot of people talk about immunity.
Yeah.
My theory is the reason why it's an immunity boost is because it's getting your microbiome back in balance, which then makes everything else healthier, thus improving your immunity.
Uh-huh. And how is it helping with the microbiome? Because just mushrooms in and of themselves are prebiotics by themselves, so that's going to help feed your good bacteria? Or is there, I'm
Yes,
looking for an ingredient list. Is there also probiotics actually in the blend?
it's purely just chaga and water. There is
Gotcha.
no blend. So all our extract is
Oh,
purely
wow.
bringing the best, optimizing what chaga has. We get about 95% of the theoretical value out of every batch. That's why our process is so long and a very high temperature. If you look at a lot of chaga products that are out there, um, folks talk about steep it for 3 hours, boil it for 15 minutes, all these things, and those are all wrong. If you want to steep it for 3 or 4 hours, you're probably doing it at a very low temperature, 150, 160, 170. That's going to take you 3, 4 days to get at what we get out of it at a
Yeah.
constant controlled temperature.
Right.
You boil it, you start to break down the betulinic acid, which is the powerful antioxidant. We've proven that in our labs. If you turn this into a powder, unless you freeze dry it, the beta glucans oxidize. They're very unstable. So you cannot have, if you have a powdered chaga, you're either taking a raw chaga, um, ground up chaga horn, right? So that means your body has to do the extraction. The
Right.
enzymes, the acids, everything in your stomach have to do that extraction. For how long is that happening and how well does that work? I don't know. We didn't prove that. We did prove out when people have these powders, how do you take them? As you and your listeners know, mushrooms are not water soluble,
Right.
right? So what you're doing is you're extracting them in your tea, your water, your coffee, whatever you're doing. That's the extraction of where you're trying to get out of there what that good stuff is. Otherwise, you're purely taking whatever that powder is, and then you're relying on your body to do the extraction, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's why we're very proud and we see such fast reaction because we've done all that hard work for you. To where as soon as this touches your lips and your tongue, your brain subconsciously is saying, "What is this? Where does it go in your body? How do we do this?" You start absorbing it through your mouth even before it gets to your stomach, and all along the way to where your body starts to feel the difference and absorb it quite quickly. And that's the
Got it.
beta glucans because they're a complex polyphenol soluble fiber. They really get into and feed that microbiome in a different way, and that's why we see a lot of gut health reactions that I think are unprecedented for something so simple as this.
Fascinating. And again, this is the key thing here that makes Boom Chaga unique. Well, there's many keys, but a key takeaway with specific nutrient ratios is that they're trying to maximize the betulinic acid, which is a powerful antioxidant. And you have this straight on the label, right on the back of the bottle or on the back of the packet. Beta glucans and betulinic acid, trying to maximize those while eliminating all oxalic acid. So then you get the right benefit to risk ratio, basically
Yeah,
maximizing all the
absolutely.
benefits and trying to reduce as much as possible the risks, right? And then these are liquid, or is this does this come in a
All liquids,
powder?
all liquids. The liquids is what
Got it.
differentiates it as well. So it's a water, 100% water extract. And we maintain
Fascinating.
that. It costs us a lot more to do that, and we are very competitive price wise versus alternatives out there. When you look at the activity of the others, there's no doubt the value of Boom Chaga versus the activity of the others. But even if you look at per serving,
Yeah.
ours is very competitive, and we keep it in liquid form because we know that liquids are better. Anybody that's understands how your body absorbs things and takes it in, liquids are going to work better than a powder or pill with the
Right.
equivocal medicinal value. Your body just absorbs it that much faster. So that's why we
Perfect.
keep it in liquid form. And again, if we wanted to keep the beta glucan stable, we would have to freeze dry them.
Oh.
If anybody out there is buying dried stuff that claims beta glucans, it's either synthetic or it better be freeze dried because maybe there's some beta glucans theoretically that came in,
Yeah.
but as soon as they're dried and they will oxidize. We've proven that out with our MIT partners.
Fascinating. Yeah, so we have a 7 count option, 14 count, and a 31 count bag option. You open up the bag, and then there's going to be individual liquid packets
You got it.
in
Daily, meant
there.
to be taken once a day. Your first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, your body is breaking from your fast. So before you have your breakfast, whether it's your first cup of tea, your first cup of coffee, a water, a smoothie, a protein shake, whatever your morning routine is, simply add this to it. You will not taste it. when you blend it into something, 85% of the people say they can't taste it anyway. I'm in that 15-20% where it tastes like I'm eating a very earthy, woody mushroom.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I put it in my daily coffee, I don't taste it at all. It's amazing how fast the flavor dissipates.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay, so perfect. Boomchaga.com, folks, your natural daily super drink. Again, the ingredient label, as I just showed here on the screen. If you're listening in on audio and you didn't catch that, it's just literally chaga extract. Just water and chaga combined into these liquid packets. You just pop those open one a day, and then you can add it to water, or you can even just take it straight up. Boom, just pop it back, right? Like a shot glass, basically, of chaga extract. And then why do it? Well, we were just covering all these benefits from heart health to athletic performance. I know a lot of people use cordyceps as well for that, but chaga, tell us about the SOD contents, the superoxide dismutase. Any thoughts on that? It's one of the highest, maybe the highest across all the mushrooms.
Yeah, I believe that it is, Dr. Dahan. And I'm going to focus a bit in and spin this slightly on the betulinic acid.
Yeah, please.
When I talk with doctors and others, and even people in health stores like their Healthy Habit and others that own the stores, most have never heard of betulinic acid. If they have, it's been in beauty care products. Okay,
Uh-huh.
betulinic acid has three very powerful attributes. It delivers massive antioxidants, so people feel pain that's caused from inflammation or discomfort from inflammation. They see that drop within days. That's the number one thing people feel. If you look at our website, we have a bell curve where 60 to 70% of the people feel something within a week or less. That's the number one thing is they say, hey, I have my aches and pains are gone. Hey, why is that? Or they'll say, I have more energy. That energy is coming from fighting off inflammation that you don't even know you're fighting.
Mm.
So if you now have more free energy because you've gotten rid of some of these things that your body is tired of fighting off, now you have that energy to go do more positive things. So that's the first thing that betulinic acid does. The second one, and this is where I understood this term, knew what it was, but seeing the results, frankly, has blown my mind. We have so much betulinic acid in ours, it is really accelerating apoptosis.
Mm.
So if you go and you do your research, you'll hear about betulinic acid targeting dangerous cells in your body, being proven and approved in Europe for aiding with apoptosis. We have such a high concentration in every serving, we see people with skin conditions going away. And not just like acne, eczema, psoriasis going away over a month or two,
Right.
but burn scars, surgical scars, damaged skin conditions going away. I probably need to be careful with what I quote on your great podcast here, but we have people with internal conditions where their counts are improved, their
Yep.
organs are healthier. They are showing me their results, and I'm 100% convinced that's this betulinic acid doing this accelerated apoptosis, which is the elimination of dead, dangerous, or damaged cells in your body. Okay. Finally, betulinic acid is one of the rare natural compounds that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So if you've got oxidative stress upstairs, or if you've got some damage up there, we see people's brain fog dissipate. We see folks with migraines ease. People even there's actually two ladies that have taken their kids 10, one was 10, one was 12 off their ADHD meds because they're thinking more clearly. I don't know all the biological hows of that other
Right,
than I
right,
know
right.
this thing crosses the blood-brain barrier, whether it's caused by oxidative stress or whether it's caused by some other sorts of things that are happening up there, some damage. The betulinic acid and the concentration we have in liquid form to fat to react quickly, I'm convinced is aiding with mental clarity. So the
Unbelievable.
three-legged stool of betulinic acid is massive anti-inflammatory, massive mental health, and this accelerated apoptosis.
Right. I just put it up here just on Google, a quick betulinic acids search. And right away, it's like the first thing that pops up here with the apoptosis activity, anti-cancer activity, basically. And again, we're not giving any medical advice. We're just literally listing what, number one, Rich has observed and what the research directly is showing that this basically it's a compound. It's a plant compound. It's not a vitamin. It's not a mineral, betulinic acid. It's a naturally occurring compound found in plants, particularly in the bark of white birch trees. Okay, so then it's gained a lot of attention for its anti-inflammatory, anti-malarial, antiretroviral effects, and then of course anti-cancer effects as well. And that's, if you can compare across a lot of different mushroom brands, you're gonna have a hard time finding the amount of betulinic acid that you'll find in a Boom Chaga, the liquid packets. And so that's a huge benefit right there. It's anti-inflammatory, and that works with the SOD,
Yes.
with the low oxalic acid count, and then much more, all the other properties that are found in chaga. We can go on a deep dive just on that alone for hours. So what's some of the early feedback you've been getting? When was the product officially announced for release? When it was officially, when it like really hit the shelves and hit the market officially first time?
Yeah, so we launched the first packets, the sachets, in November 23.
Gotcha.
And it's, it's been as all startups, you have some
Right,
months
right.
and weeks and months and days that are really good and others that are a couple steps back.
Of course.
As you all know, and many of your listeners, to a lot of folks want a miracle pill and they want to take something right away. That's why the GLP-1 craze is taken off, right? It's like, oh, I can take a couple shots and all of a sudden I'm losing, the weight's just falling off. You're fooling your body, you're throwing your body a curveball and saying, don't produce this natural hormone called GLP-1. We'll take care of it for you and fool you to where you don't eat. Well, not taking in nutrients is not the best thing. What this what this does is it feeds your body stuff. It's a bit like the craze over the last few years of micronutrients and getting these things with Shilajit and other things into your body that we didn't know our soils depleted of for generations of maybe being overly farmed or just not
Right.
having them. In the case of Boom Chaga, everybody's known for decades beta-glucans are good and healthy and well sought after to help naturally do things that otherwise statins and other things are prescribed to do. Betulinic acid is really the breakthrough. And that's why I believe chaga is, through many people that have been involved in this industry a lot longer than me, they've called chaga king of the medicinal mushrooms because it's kind of a Swiss Army knife across all the others. Turkey tail goes after bad cells. Cordyceps, as you said, do certain things. Lion's mane, mental health, right? They all have their individual one or two things they do. But what I shared about Boom Chaga, we've seen that through more than 1,400 testimonials and results, reviews of what it's done to change people's lives. We have over a 70% return customer rate to buy more than one bag. So they're on at least 2, 3 months worth of using it, which means they're feeling a difference. They see a difference. When people are disciplined enough to get this into their daily routine, when you buy it, unsubscribe from our website, subscribe, save from our website, you're getting it for about $1.40, $1.45 a day is all. And we have people that are actually off a lot of their prescription pills. It's saving them money
Yeah.
because they don't need their statins anymore. Because again, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying, listen to your body, see what it does. They're not taking prescription pain meds. They're off their arthritis meds. They're off a lot of things because this helps to control and or eliminate whatever some of those causes are, in a natural, easy to consume way that's very fast reacting.
Incredible. Yeah, there's tons of research even coming out of Japan and China. It's a really strongly used or a commonly used mushroom or natural product or supplement in East Asia, Southeast Asia, in their clinical cases. And that says a lot. They have the highest longevity, lowest rates of common American diseases. So, yeah, mushrooms are a really big staple of traditional Chinese medicine as well. So, thank you for sharing all this information, my friend. I know we're going to have you on. We got for a round two. This is a good intro to Boom Chaga. Gave our guests our listeners really a first time to meet you, Rich. And we're coming into the last minute here. But what's a good take home message for someone that's new to, number one, the mushroom world, but maybe even just the chaga world in general? What's a good starting point? Why should somebody remember Boom Chaga? We're going on 2 years here. This year, November 2025, will be 2 years that Boom Chaga has been around. So I'll be doing as much as I can to help spread the word
Thank
on
you.
this product. But what's a good take home, Rich?
Yeah, I think for folks, when you're looking at any supplement, so take this and go to any supplement. What's the source? What's the process? Make sure it's really better for you. A lot of stuff that's done in labs or warehouses, you're getting the roots. It's called mycelium. You're getting the roots, and there's some value there, but it's nothing like the fruiting bodies of most of these mushrooms, in particular chaga. You have to have chaga from wild harvested birch. You mentioned the birch bark has some of this betulinic acid in it. If for those of you that know birch bark, it's very light, very flaky. A chaga horn is as dense as wood. It takes on the property of wood.
Mm,
So if you had the equivocal weight of all that birch bark to equal that chaga, it would be multiple trees
wow.
of birch bark to give you one chunk of chaga. So the chaga is very concentrated with that betulinic acid and the beta-glucans because it's so dense, and that's why it's really, again, king of the medicinal mushrooms. You have to source it the right way. Winter, very cold. Make sure you're doing it sustainably, and then you have to process it the right way, which is where our patents are. Otherwise, you're getting stuff on the market that's not going to be as good for you as what we have in Boom Chaga. And again, that's why we patent it, and that's why we are very open with our competitive charts, all third-party lab done, independently formed. That's where the data speaks volumes.
Amazing, Rich. Well, thank you for our first one here. It was good to meet you here over the podcast, and I look forward to our next one. And for people that really want to dive deeper into the research, just Google Chaga Health Scholar, and Chaga is just Chaga Health, and then add the word scholar, and there you could see hundreds of studies at this point, thousands that have been done using Chaga, both on human and animal research. So, Rich, thank you for your time, and our customers are going to appreciate this one. I know that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dehan. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.